Chapter 7. It was a grey day like any other, his eyes reflecting only monitors and animations. He sat concentrated in his own filth, with the only light to fill the room being flashes and bangs of white from the fast-paced movement and actions of characters he wished only to exist in real life. The portraits of said characters followed his imagination in the few considerate blinks he would allow his eyes to use for rest. He longed for the words of intimacy from the characters, like he was trying to capture a figment from his imagination. The words so close, but always far behind glass, his existence stagnant, only to continue when the next animation filled his senses. Junichi Makoto was a young man approaching his early 20s. Born and raised in Tokyo, he was one of the very unfortunate souls to encounter bullying, to a degree to which he could no longer continue education. Mentally and physically, he could not leave his room. He was frozen in a trauma of misunderstanding and avoidance. His parents, understanding his helpless mental trauma, worked harder and longer to support him. But their health and patience was growing thinner and thinner as time would pass. Standing at 5'4", with a head of black, thin, greasy hair, Junichi weighed at least 25 stone, with a face crumpled within itself. Comparable to a short sumo, he did not look healthy, as he had dark rings under his eyes and red rashes around his eyelids from what could have been consistent crying. On top of all this, he struggled to walk for long distances without breathing issues and a mechanical click of his ankle bone after 100 meters of walking. Safe to say, he was deteriorating in every sense. But the strongest thing about Junichi was his naive and childish belief in the morality and integrity of the anime characters he would consistently watch and devote himself to. His belief and faith in people had perished, but holding on tightly to the 2D characters and the voice actors bringing them to life, Junichi held on a hope that one day he would be accepted and be worth the smile and love of anyone other than his mother and father. His eyes always unfolding a story, his nose pointing him in the direction of the food his mother would leave him, and his mouth acting as a bailer. He would lose himself in the 20 minutes of highs, lows, plot, and animated design. Today, Tokyo had the greatest typhoon and rainfall in almost 42 years. The internet and television receptions were not entirely reliable in such weather, and on the day Junichi's favourite show was showing a preview of the last episode. It left him in a mental despair comparable to mourning a loved one. For the first time in over 5 years, Junichi got up from his pit of circumference and marched to the untouched, filthy closed curtains. Ripping them open, his eyes finally reflected something other than characters. It reflected himself in the glass sliding doors. A pause came over him, causing silence to fill the room. It was quickly broken by the furious rain pouring past his reflection. He looked at himself as if he did not know who was looking at him. He did not see himself. He saw something he felt scorn and disgust for, an abomination of self-loathing and something holding no accountability or responsibility for the end result. In the midst of his emotion, a speck of white light had blinded him. Cancelling out his negative emotions, he looked up into the sky, and then it felt like time had slowed down for more than just a moment. His eyes reflecting a single large grey cloud. He scanned it as it slowly but surely moved past, revealing the white large moon, unperplexed by the ferocity of the weather. It stared at him as the characters would, and for the first moment in his life he felt a connection so pure he almost fell to his knees. Overcome with this moment he could not describe, his eyes fell silent, and to his surprise he awoke to the stinging sensation of a vibration on his eyelids. Taking his time to stand, he felt the life of the earth between his toes. It was warm, calm, and to his surprise, it was the healthiest looking land he had ever seen. Hit again by the vibration in the air, it hit his throat, and he coughed vigorously, barely breathing before the next vibration hit him. You need to breathe before the vibrations and after them. Can you do that? Said an old strained voice. Junichi, startled by the voice, began coughing in a twirl, looking for the voice. Focus on your breathing, boy, or you will pass out, said the strained voice again. Junichi stopped twirling as his eyes found the strained voice sitting under a large tree that shimmered in animated movement. Come to think of it, everything in Junichi's eyesight vibrated side to side in movement, like the wings of bees. It was an unwelcoming sight, and one that caused him nausea. Forget about the trees, boy, and focus on that breathing. Ah, you see, I did say so. The strained voice from the old man sitting under the tree was the last thing he heard before he had passed out from one more vibration in the neck. In the dark, infinite black space of the mind, Junichi felt shapes and objects carve into the visual idea of a dream. A tower, a door, a king, and finally a woman so idealistically beautiful he could see her inner reflection of himself grabbing his heart as if she had taken it. Wake up, boy! Boy! Junichi! Shouted the strained voice of the old man. Junichi's eyes opened gradually, only to close again from another attack of the vibration in the air. Breathe now! Shouted the old man, looming above him. Junichi quickly took in a large breath. Feeling the vibration in the air, he released his immense lung capacity into the atmosphere. Finally, I think you're starting to understand, said the old man. Junichi in silence sat up and looked at the old man in detail. He wasn't a fragile old man in the least, as he looked well established with muscles that had definition upon definition. His face seemed somewhat different to the normal old men Junichi had seen, but he couldn't quite place the difference. His eyes stern, his nose bulbous, and his lips almost hidden by the mask of an unkempt, multi-shaded grey beard. The old man offered anyone looking at him a suggestion of experience in combat and being well versed at life. His clothing was by far the strangest thing about him. Wearing small leather-stitched shoes with an up-point curvature to the toes, they shimmered in the vibrations of the air like they were alive. His clothing was gown-like, with embroidering rabbits on the shoulders and centre point of the torso. It changed colours like Junichi had never seen before, merging contrasts and variations. It erupted and imploded with colour that did not offer distaste to the eye, in fact, the opposite. It was then that Junichi, with a new rhythm of breathing, had truly and finally noticed the world he was standing in. His eyes widened in childlike fascination and glassed over with the thought of a tear. The sky and atmosphere above him was that of the old man's gown, but it was almost as if sadness had taken the sky. The colours wept in a slow waltz that collided, bringing forth colour combinations, retracting brightness, making the sky above loom darker. In other areas of the sky, the colours seemed to shy away from each other, dividing and quartering, until tiers of colour seemingly searching for its next collision was met with an entire backdrop of deep black, from the overwhelming presence of space behind it. The land around him animated in a shimmer of vibration that felt dreamlike. Everything felt alive and not just visible. Across the distance in the horizon stood a large castle-like structure, and hidden under the height of a dense and populated forest, the smoke from what he assumed was houses filled the sky in dark and smoky grey colours. "Now your breathing is sorted, I'm going to fix one more thing for you. Pardon me." The old man then swiftly bent over, and with just the tip of his finger he poked Junichi's ankle that clicked when he walked. After Junichi experiencing and feeling his own face change from anger, confusion, and then to relief, it only made sense that he was helping. "Feels better, right?" the old man said with a devilish grin. Replied Junichi, with an outward body language of someone with no confidence. "Now, boy, I need you to follow me to that there castle you just looked at. The old fart who happens to be my king needs to have a discussion with you. Confusing and mysterious, I know. I know you probably do not trust anyone that much, but I am an old man. I have no use for tricks and manipulation. Life is too short. Well, a tad shorter for me, eh?" With that, the old man winked and gestured an outstretched hand in preparation for a handshake. "My name is Fargones. It is a pleasure to meet you, Junichi." "Why?" Junichi mumbled. "What's that, boy? I can't hear you," replied Fargones. "Why would I can't hear you." "Why would a king want to talk to me? Look at me. I don't even know where I am. What is this?" Junichi shouted, but forgot the rhythm of his breathing and was hit in the throat by the vibrations once more. "Breathing, boy, breathing!" Fargones gestured in and out motions with his hands. Junichi felt the heat of his body rise, the replay of words bound in negative energy trapping him in a circulation of self-depreciation and question of his self-worth. He held his head down and his gaze chained to the floor. His body limp, he felt himself close down, and the want for the four walls and the monitors projecting the characters of his infatuation forced him into withdrawal within himself. Blocking out the world and the old man around him, he became the only thing in this new world unmoving. Hit by the vibrations in the air, he staggered, but one shuffle of his feet brought him back to the small area he had claimed as his own. Fargones watched Junichi with pained eyes, and walked over to the tree where he had left his walking stick. The stick in question was made of wood, but looked quite hollow. Shaded a dark red-brown, its length was modest to Fargones' height. Taking the stick, he walked over to Junichi, and with a flick of his finger onto Junichi's forehead, his head tilted upwards so that he could face Fargones and see the old man's eyes. Junichi's expression was defeated. Fargones, stared into his eyes, and gently into the vibrating air he said, "Everything you was or were doesn't matter anymore. You are new here. There are no expectations or demands, no right way or wrong way. There exists only you and your choices here. This is not Earth, boy. It is far from that cesspit of corruption and false direction. This place has its limitations, but you are not what you think or feel. You are here. Only one major rule exists. You do not harm the king." Fargoness's expression changed from gentle to furious in what was an instantaneous reaction. Junichi felt the heat of Fargoness's body as a wave of pure destruction. His eyes, a pure dark green, flashed an animalistic rage Junichi was unable to comprehend. Stepping back in fear, Fargoness blinked and regained himself. "Sorry, boy. I lose myself when it comes to the king. But yes, do not touch the king, okay? Now, we're going to that palace or castle, whatever you want to call it. We need to go there. Now, don't keep an old man waiting. Let's go. Also, I'm not the old man. The king is." With that, a cheeky wink and grin from Fargoness gave Junichi the courage to take the steps towards the distant horizon, decorated with the palace of a king it seemed he was destined to meet. With the new idea that his past did not reflect the present or future. Here he followed a very strong old man with a new cut of what he would call a smile. His only hope was that it wouldn't be short-lived.